Did you know that I love being bad at things? I love the first few tentative steps of a skill where you see such quick progress and you really feel things clicking. I'm a very impatient person in that way, that I love being bad at things because I can see myself becoming better at them. So this year in 2026, I want to be bad at knitting again. In order for me to do that, after knitting for 20 plus years, I have compiled a list. The last few weeks, I have racked my brain, looked around for 25 things that I want to do in 2026 to get me to that feeling of being bad at knitting again, where I can see progress, where I can learn things that I haven't done before. Some of these are very scary and some of them are quite nice, but I wanted to mix it up a bit, not just impossible things, because that's not going to be very entertaining or satisfying for either of us. So 25 things, mixed levels, and here they are. I'm going to put them in a bingo sheet card. So sheet card, is that what I want to say? I'm going to put them on a bingo card, a bingo sheet, a bingo card. And I wrote them down as they came to me, and then I pulled them through a randomizer to get a proper randomized order, because I had a few weeks where I was very much into thinking about color combinations, and some week where I was very much into construction. So I didn't want to have like a full type of garment row. So these are randomized. Here they are. The first item is hand dye yarn. Why have I not done that before? I love the idea of that. I want to buy a already made, already spun, probably sock yarn, because I love knitting socks. How dope would it be to hand dye sock yarn to then make a pair of socks with and be like, oh, I made these. I made so much of these. I made all of these except raising the sheep and shearing them and spinning the yarn. But I made so much more of the sock than I'm usually doing. So that's my first thing to do. The second one is knit long johns for long Jonathans, because I always wear through my long johns when my thighs chafe together. And I figured I might just knit myself a pair instead, because they're going to be sturdier. I have already bought the yarn. I bought it now that we were in Norway, in Tromsø, over New Year's, my partner and I. So you are going to see that. I think I have a pattern for it too in mind. So stay tuned for that. But knitting long johns is the next point. My third point is knitting with beads and or sequins. I did a tiny foray into knitting with beads last summer when I knit a little pouch with a little lemon bead situation to put my red cedar wood shavings in to keep in my closet. And I loved that little project. It was very quick, it was fun, and I want to enjoy some more whimsy and less practicality with my knits. I do a lot of practical knitting. This sweater, for example, I knit a lot of socks, I knit stuff that is wearable and practical, and sequins and beads are not practical, but I love them. I love a little bit of glitter and a little bit of impracticality. The fourth point on this bingo card is going to be knitting a dress. I did knit a dress last year in February to June or something. I knit the Oh My Figure dress that I have posted a video about, and I want to knit another dress. I think I want a more relaxed look. I haven't thought of a pattern yet. I haven't picked out a silhouette. I haven't picked out a yarn yet, but I want to knit another dress. That is going to be quite a big project. So this first row is going to be sort of heavy. I mean, long johns. For me, I'm tall. I am 176 centimeters tall. I wear a size medium to large. I wear a size medium to large in bottoms, so it's not going to be a quick project by any means. And then also in this row, knitting a dress. That is going to be fun. But the fifth is then a short row project, because I have been looking at different ways of making shapes and interesting contrast with short row shaping. Not necessarily a garment, because I do know short row shaping for like the peaks of the back yoke, for a t-shirt, for example. That is something that I have done, and I like, and I see the practicality of it. But I would like to knit something that doesn't use short rows as a practical structural element, but rather as a decorative element. And I have a few ideas in mind for this. For the next row, first piece is knit a pocket-sized scarf. The last few weeks in Sweden have been very cold. The weekend, or the 4 days that we spent in Norway, northern part of Norway, above the Arctic Circle, that was well cold. And I have been thinking more and more about the practicality of a small pocket-sized scarf, because yes, I do have big chunky scarves like a snood or one of these really long, almost blanket-like scarves. I do have that, but the small, say, Sophie scarf is just a very convenient size to be able to shove down your pocket and get it out whenever it starts being a bit windy or a bit cold, or you forgot a big scarf and oh, you had one tiny one in your pocket. That is so convenient. That is what I want. I have one in fabric that I love. It says freedom, equality, abortion, and it is in a green base and with a white text, and a lot of people confuse it for the colours of one of the football teams in Stockholm. I'm not a football person and I find it funny, but freedom, equality, abortion is more important to me than Bayern. Sorry. So this scarf that I have, this bandana basically, does go with me from April through to September, October, and it's very convenient to just have shoved in my pockets. So if it starts raining or the wind picks up, I have that option of getting my bandana out. But I would like the same option for the colder months, where I'm not just using a huge scarf, but I could really use a small one. So maybe a Sophie scarf, maybe just a Sophie scarf inspired, maybe another triangle scarf. I will have to look at some different options, but that is something that I would like. Another thing that became apparent to me over Christmas was that I would like to knit a plushie. I don't know that I would necessarily want to keep it myself. I have been looking at the Frog and Toad pattern by Claire Garland, and I bought the pattern. I have printed it out and I would like to make a little frog with it, but I haven't really decided if I want to keep it or if I should bring it to next year's. Is it called White Elephant? It could be a white elephant, but we do it as a game instead. So you have a pair of dice and you go through and you steal each other's gifts, and if you get a 6 or a 1, you get to steal a gift, and then you fight over the different gifts. And I think that having a knitted frog with a tiny absurd little outfit would make for the winning gift of next year, which I would love. So knitting a plushie is also something that is on this list for sure. Next on my bingo card is knitting a pillow cover. I am a homebody, I am a sofa person, I love me a good sofa moment, and I would like to have a pretty knitted cover for one of the pillows. Might even put it in this very chair I'm sitting in right now. I was also gifted hand-spun, locally raised yarn from my mother-in-law from the island where my partner grew up, and I would love to make a pillow cover with that yarn. It's very, very beautiful. It's quite thin, so I would have to do some thinking on the construction and on the pattern, but I have a few ideas and that's something that I would like to make. Next up is a new sock construction for me. I have knitted socks for 20 years. I'm turning 32, and I think I knit my first pair of socks when I was 12. And I would love to, and I've always knitted them cuff down, and now I want to try my hand at knitting them toe up. Maybe that is a completely new experience and a revelation to me. So that's something that I would like to try my hand at this year. Next up, the last on this row is knitting an undershirt, because this winter has been brutal in the last few weeks, and I realized that the long johns and undershirts that I have that are just like the base layer of a warm winter outfit, they are not fit to be seen by others. They are still serviceable. I can wear them when no one is going to see me. But if I go through security at the airport, for example, in one of my big chunky knitted sweaters, they are going to ask me to take that layer off because it's too chunky. I could hide anything underneath it. So they are going to ask me, they have asked me to take it off, and I'm stood there with my ratty, old, holy undershirt, long sleeved undershirt that isn't really my size because I inherited it from a grandmother and we were not the same size, but it works and it's warm and it's from the 80s or 70s, so of course I'm going to wear it. But I would like to have a proper, publicly viewable undershirt. I have a few yarn types in mind. I'm debating between mohair, not a mohair. I'm debating between merino, and I'm debating between a silk, because silk is so nice. It's not going to be the warmest, but maybe the Knitting for Olive soft silk, no, the pure silk, that might be the option I go for, or one of the options, because I would also like it to just be a working full length or long sleeved t-shirt. So knitting an undershirt, that is also on my list. So this next row was 4 quick projects or quick-ish projects, and then bam, the undershirt. But that is what I'm working with. For the next row, I have participating in a market. I have visited handcraft markets for years. I love them, and I'm curious to see how it would be to actually be a vendor at one of them. So I have a few ideas I would like to explore. This would probably be in November or December of next year or this year, because that is when the Christmas markets happen and where knitted goods are most sought after. So it wouldn't really make sense for me to try a market in the height of summer when no one wants to be hot and I'm there with my knitted socks or knitted ornaments or patterns. But I would like to try being a vendor at a market. It's a wild thing. I haven't done anything like that before. It would feel very, very vulnerable, but it could be something that might unlock something. And since I've never done it before, it's going to tie back to my first point of this video. I'm going to be really bad at it, and that might be really fun. The next tile is putting in a zipper in one of my knits. So I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know where I would need a zipper in anything. Maybe a purse, maybe a wearable, maybe the pillow cover, but I would like to actually make something that has a zipper in it. And then if I have calculated correct, this should be, because I'm just looking at the list, I'm going to compile the visual for it afterwards. But if I'm counting correctly, which I'm not convinced that I am because I have a fever, this should be my middle tile, my very middle tile. And that is to steek something. Steeking is a form of witchcraft that I would like to be bad at and then would like to be able to perform. So sticking, scary thing. I've had it on my list of scary things to try for a while, and 2026 might be the year where I do it. Next point on this list is knitting a pair of mittens again. I knitted a pair of the Juicy Fruit mittens by Knitting Lotta last winter, maybe 2 winters ago. I don't really remember. But I bought the pattern from her at a fair in Stockholm, a festival, yarn festival. And I knitted them, but I knit them in a sock yarn that was too thin, and it was also 20% nylon. It was superwash, so it didn't really fill out the gaps between. The colour work looks all right for my second attempt or third attempt ever, but it didn't give me the warmth and the wind protection that I was looking for. So I want to reknit them. I am currently reknitting them. This is one of the points that I know that I'm going to be able to cross off first in the year. So if I stay consistent with them, I should be finished with them within a few weeks. So that is exciting. You're going to see that in probably an upcoming knitting podcast video that I should release soon-ish. I should film it in a few days, whenever I get around to it. Next and last for this row is releasing a pattern. I have so many pattern ideas in my mind. Currently, I am very much in sock land, and I would like to design and release a pattern just to see what that process is like. I know that I'm going to be bad at it in the beginning, and that is exactly what I'm chasing. So releasing a pattern and being bad about it. And I would like to find a balance between releasing something that I really believe in. I don't want to release any crap just to have released a pattern, but I also don't want to waste one of my good ideas that I think could be a really good pattern when I don't know what I'm doing. So that is something that I'm going to have to get over fairly quickly, because this is something that I want to happen. Releasing a pattern is definitely happening in 2026. Next row, I would like to knit myself a pair of slippers. Yes, the sailor slippers are the Sophie scarf of the moment. Everyone and their grandmother is making a pair of sailor slippers, and I would like to make one pair for myself, because I have my Birkenstock, but those I keep at home because they're so good for just going out, doing something quick and coming home, and they are a summer shoe for me. I would ideally, of course, have a pair of work Birkenstocks. That is how quickly my mind works today. To be able to show off my knitted socks in them, that would be rad, but I don't have that kind of money, and I feel like that is a waste of resources. So knitting a pair of slippers with yarn that I probably already have, because I have some good 100% wool, non-superwash yarn that I don't really know what to do with. It's less than a sweater quantity, but it's more than just filling for something like the frog plushie that I want to make. So that could be a good alternative for the yarn that I have in stash. I think I even have scraps left from this project. I have at least one ball of the beige. I might have some green too somewhere. And for my partner's sweater as well, his is a rusty orange instead of the green. So I could make a pair of slippers with that. Next point is knitting a baby item. I am not expecting a child. No, please, thank you. But I have people in my life who are, and who are excited about it, and I'm excited for them, and I would like to knit their baby something. So knitting a baby item, and not just baby socks, because I have done that for the older sibling of the child to come. So they have baby socks at home, but I would like to knit the baby something new. So maybe a sweater or a pair of tights or a hat or something useful. The baby is expected in late summer, so that is something that I have to take into consideration, that it can't be something too warm, or it has to be something that the child can grow into. But children, as I have been told, are known for growing, so I'm sure something is going to be good. Next point, I have a 3-month long no-buy for yarn, because I have so much gorgeous yarn and I recently bought more. I did do a no-buy yarn for half of November and all of December, which I kept up until the 30th of December, because that was the only day that the yarn store in Tromsø that I wanted to visit was open for the days that we were there. They weren't open until like the 4th, and by then we had left, so I thought this is all right. So I would like to not buy any yarn for 3 months, and once I have not bought any yarn for 3 months, I can cross this off the list. Ideally, I would like it to be more, because I have so much good yarn to use. I have so many fun projects to get around to with the yarn. I usually only buy yarn for specific projects, so if I have bought yarn, it's because I want to do something with it, not just because it's pretty. And if I go too long without actually realizing my plans or making them come true, the feeling and the excitement and the curiosity for the project is going to leave. So that would have meant that I wasted a great opportunity to do something that I wanted. So I don't want to buy more yarn to add onto the mental list of fun things that I want to do, but it just grows longer and longer and longer, so I don't ever get around to the fun things. I would like to be able to have a shorter turnaround on amazing idea, amazing yarn, amazing process, amazing project, finished object. So right now, that way is very, very long, because I have such a backlog of projects that I want to do. Hello, bird. So that is the goal with this. Of course, I could do more. Hopefully I'll do more than 3 months, but I don't want to say the entire year without buying yarn, because then I won't be able to do some of the projects that I have in mind for this next year. So 3 months in a row of not buying any yarn. Please and thank you. Good luck to me. Next tile is knitting a skirt. This ties back to one of my first tiles of knitting with sequins, because I would like to make a sequined knitted skirt, because I think the sequins are going to make it quite drapey and look quite flowy and glittery and absurd, and it's something that I know that I would use. Having a knitted or sequined top, I think, might be a bit of a sensory hit or miss, but having it as a skirt, it wouldn't bother me if the sequins are too rough. So knitting a skirt might be a sequined skirt. I think I want it to be a midi length skirt, not a mini. I'm not much for mini skirts anymore. That is a chapter in my life that might come back, but it has currently passed. My next point is fixing an old knit. I have a few things that I would like to revisit to make better. So the first and biggest thing that I would like to make better is my partner's version of this, because it is too broad in the body portion, or around the stomach. It's a bit too oversized. It fits well over the shoulders, the sleeves are good, but the actual body is too boxy. So I would like to re-knit that. The second one is the hat, the beanie that I knitted in December. The All Roads, no, the Classic Rib by Pearl Soho that I knitted with the Fnug super fluffy brushed alpaca in a very loud yellow colour. The yarn is great. The hat is super loud. I really like how the crown fits. I would, however, want the brim to be longer so I can triple fold it. Because right now it's fine for days with little to no wind, but as soon as the wind picks up, if I'm close to water, if I'm in an open space, the wind is just going to go through all that fluff and into my ears. So when we were in Norway, I really loved wearing my loud yellow hat, but I would have loved it even more if it were actually warmer. So I think I'll just pick up from where I cast off and just knit the brim longer. I could also, now that I think about it, hold the yarn double for that portion. That would probably make more sense. I might just rip back and reknit from basically my temples this long or even longer of a brim in the yarn held double, because on my crown it was perfectly fine with not being the densest fabric because I have hair protecting me, but my ears got cold and that was less than optimal. Next row, the last row, I want to knit a pair of lace socks. Knitting lace socks feels like such a decadent thing. It is so time consuming to knit lace, and to have them hidden in your boots or underneath your trousers feels so nice to be like, oh, I have this and no one knows about it. It's like my colourwork socks. It's like, you don't know that I'm wearing art on my feet right now, but I do, and I feel great about it. So I want to knit a pair of lace socks. I have a few different patterns that I'm interested in. Most of them are probably from the 52 weeks of socks part 2, volume 2. Don't have the names off the top of my mind right now, but one of my gripes with that pattern book was that a lot of socks just come in one size and it's not my size, so I feel excluded. So I'll find something, or I make the pattern for myself and maybe I'll release that pattern. Stay tuned, you'll see. When I know, you'll know. The second thing that I want to do on this row is a dropped stitch design. I like how the effect of a dropped stitch over a longer time or a longer section looks. I think Lainit has done some of those really stunning pieces. Like, I think, are they called the disco trousers? Where you knit a pair of trousers and then at the very top you just drop a few well-chosen stitches and ladder them back down, and you get this really cool looking effect. I would like to try that this year. Maybe not with the trousers though, because that's going to be such a long project. So I want to try dropping stitches intentionally. Next up is unraveling a secondhand sweater. Because just like everyone else, this year, or 2025, I've been obsessed with the idea of cashmere. But I'm not going to buy new cashmere. Yes, if I was given a 10,000 kroners gift card to my local yarn store, I would buy a sweater quantity of cashmere. No doubt about it. But I'm not looking at that kind of money, and there are plenty of good cashmere sweaters in the secondhand stores. So I think I'll just find myself one of those, unravel it because I want to unravel something and repurpose yarn. And that would also give me great yarn for a sweater. I could, actually, if I do this, if I find good cashmere, a good quantity of cashmere, I could knit my undershirt in that. How great would that be? I would not have to be embarrassed about taking off my sweater to reveal my cashmere undershirt at the airport. I think I might do that. That's dependent on me finding secondhand cashmere that's actually unravelable, and the secondhand market in Stockholm is insane. People charge so much for secondhand stuff. It's ridiculous. The whole thing, the unique selling point of secondhand clothing is unique pieces for a lower price and at a far smaller impact for the environment. Those are the things. And you can't just take away the price point and be like, oh, you get a unique piece. No, I don't. Everything is from Zara and H&M. Every unique thing has already been tucked away somewhere or repurposed with some heinous thrift flip. So no, there are no unique pieces left. The price is basically what you pay in store, so they can keep afloat, so the second-hand store can stay alive with very high rent prices in Stockholm. So yes, the environmental impact is still better, but still you get my point that second-hand shopping is not what it used to be. Thanks, Bezos, I guess. I don't know if he has anything to do with it, but he probably does. Next to last is knitting an ornament. I liked knitting my little bow for Christmas. I knitted a I-cord garter stitch bow. It was such a quick and lovely little thing. That is one of the things that really pushed me over the edge of knitting a pocket-sized scarf. So I would like to knit more ornaments. That also ties back into trying a market, because knitting small ornaments and selling them at a market or selling the patterns for them at a market, that is something that I can do with a reasonable amount of effort. Also, my tiny sock wreath has been the joy of coming home for the last few weeks. So at the very end of November or the beginning of December, I can't remember, but I knitted a bunch, like 12 or so tiny socks this size with just sock scraps. And those socks I then pinned into a wreath that I had also bound. I bought some twigs of green stuff and then I bound it together and pinned these little socks into it. I would love to make more ornaments to keep for a long time, because having ornaments that can stand the test of time and can stand the test of animals, so therefore soft and not breakable, would be a really great thing. So knitting an ornament is definitely on the list. I love knitting the little ornaments this year, and I will find some fun ornaments to knit for next year as well. My last point on this is one of the most difficult ones, I think. It is no whip left behind, no work in progress left behind or clearing my needles, because I have completely lost the plot. I have lost the overview of what projects that I have going on currently, because I was burnt out in the beginning of last year. I was then moving, I was switching jobs, I started my YouTube channel. I have so many things that were moving pieces last year that I don't know what I have on my needles anymore. So in the coming days, I'm going to sit down and look through all of my current whips, go through all of the boxes where stuff could be hiding to see what can I actually finish, what do I want to frog, because I want to clear my needles. And I think the best time to do that would be now in January, when I have a lot of time and I have a lot of knitting mojo going on. I feel like knitting, I really want to knit. So I think this would be a good thing to do in January as well. But it's going to be tricky, because I have some big projects on my needles. I have a pair of sweatpants hibernating since March or something. Those are my 25 knitting related bingo things that I would like to achieve at least one row with this year. I think there are some rows that I could theoretically, realistically actually finish. I'm not going to finish all of them. I can't have that as a goal, but I have high hopes for at least a row or a column. One row or column. But I have 5 little side quests that don't really fit into this knitting thing. They are more enriching my life related. So the first one is, it's quite silly, but I would like to make ramen. I would like to properly make a bowl of ramen to see if I find it worth my time to do it myself, or if I should just continue getting it at a restaurant, because I love ramen. It's so tasty, and it's such a comforting food, but it's quite expensive. It is worth it, but if I could make it at home and have the same comforting feeling, I would like to do that. So I would like to try and make ramen. I know that I'm going to be bad at this too, but it's going to be a fun thing to be bad at, I think. The second thing that I have, the second wish, really strong wish, is adopting a cat. We are talking about it, and I hope that we can actually get around to adopting one this year. That would be great. This apartment is far too empty with just the 2 of us. I would love for there to be at least one little idiot running around, so I don't have to be the dumbest one in this apartment at all times. My partner is very clever. I am too. But I would like to have that buffer zone of a really dumb little animal running around doing cute shit and keeping me company on the sofa. I did have a cat. He passed away, or I had to put him down because he had a tumour that was growing very quickly. I lost him nearly 2 years ago, and I am now about ready to adopt again. The next point is something that I have very little control over. This is something that is very much in the hands of others. Unlike a lot of these things, I can not achieve this on my own. I would like to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I'm currently, when I'm filming this, sitting at 184 or something, so I have a lot to go. A lot of the subscribers that I have gotten in the last month come from 2 shorts, and I mainly want to do long form content, so I know that that's not going to translate into long form viewers, but I would like to up my filming game and keep consistent with my long form videos, and I would like to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. But that's not something that I can do on my own, so help me out. Let me know if you see something, if something annoys you, if something keeps you from clicking on my next video. Please let me know in some way, because I would like the feedback, because I'm bad at this, because I'm just starting and it's exciting. My next point is sewing a pair of shorts. So last spring, my partner and I attended a pattern drafting course, and I have a pair of, I have the pattern. I have drafted it myself and I know how I want it to look, but I would like to actually sew it, and I have bought the fabric. I found a secondhand tablecloth on Vinted, 100% cotton with printed lemons on it. It is silly, and I want a pair of silly lemon shorts. So that's something that I said I wanted to do in the summer as well, but I didn't get around to. And the last point is joining a book club, because I do love to read. I would like to be less precious about my reading, so I have a thought, I have an idea of how I would like this book club to work. I would like it to be like the sisterhood or siblinghood of the travelling book. So if I find some people and we each get a copy of a book, one we love reading, one we have opinions about, one that is silly, one that is nostalgic, whatever. If we get a cheap pocket version of this book and we can start writing, scribbling, highlighting, underlining, leaving comments in it, I can just see the book getting bigger and bigger with each read and with each person leaving comments. And then after all the books have gone through all of the members in the group, you get your own book back and you can look through oh, this is something that person A really highlighted, or this is a portion that pissed person B off. Wow, I never thought about this word choice, or wow, this phrase absolutely does not mean what the author wanted it to mean, or something like that. I would love for that to happen, because sitting down and talking about the same book, I don't know, I've never been part of a book club, but I would like a siblinghood of the travelling pocketbook. That would be great. I want to start with Twilight. I want to reread Twilight because it is so full of bullshit. It's so funny how I used to be such a Twilight nerd, and then it went around to being, oh my god, Twilight is the cringiest, I cannot, it's terrible, it is so far away from my own views on rights and relationships and how respect works and how a loving partnership should be, to, you know what, this is just satire, it's so funny, it is. I want to revisit the absurdity of Forks, Washington. So I want to make that happen with a book club of some sort. But these are my goals. So 30 things in 2026 that I want to do. I'm going to do some of them, I know, and I hope that I will do the other ones. If you want to see how that works out for me, subscribe. Help me get closer to 1,000 subscribers, and let me know in the comments if you have any knitting related goals for 2026. I would love to hear them. Take care of yourself. Bye.